Peace, everybody. I am back. So I tried to do this whole podcast thing with the camera over there, and somebody messaged me and said that they don't like the fact that they can't see my mouth when I was recording the podcast. So I want to go back to separating my podcast audience and my YouTube audience, because I've already built a really strong connection with you all, and a lot has been happening this year where I wasn't able to really stay consistent with it. But I'm just flowing, okay? Thank you for being patient with me. But I want to do more intimate videos like this with my YouTube channel because y'all are the tribe and I want to get back into it. So this is my first getting back into it. So today I actually want to share a little bit about my ayahuasca ceremony that I was a part of in Costa Rica. So I went to Costa Rica with my friends, and they're from the same place that I'm from, and we went there together. I stayed there for an extra amount of time, and it was really cool to be able to experience all the wildlife that's there. I'm gonna share more about Costa Rica in a different video, but I want to mainly focus on the ayahuasca ceremony. Before we even had to do the ceremony, we actually had to follow a couple of guidelines and restrictions. So there's a list of foods that we couldn't even eat, including avocado. I was like, oh my gosh, my beloved avocado. I love avocado. It's so great, but I couldn't eat it. We also couldn't have caffeine, which is fine because I am caffeine. I don't even drink caffeine like that. And then there was one other thing that we couldn't, there was a list, okay? But we also couldn't smoke weed and any of that. I don't even like smoking anymore anyway because it wasn't benefiting me. I might roll up some other types of herbs and flowers these days, but cannabis, I don't know. I feel like mushrooms help me a lot, and I don't really need to just smoke just to smoke. You know what I'm saying? So that was easy. That was really fine. So we get to the ceremony, which is held at this Airbnb that we're staying at, right? It's beautiful. A lot of open space. There's a whole yard, trees, waterfalls, all of that jazz. You know what I'm saying? And my friends and I gathered in a circle in this indoor-outdoor type housing living room area. And the medicine woman, she is actually from France, but she studied with indigenous peoples for 20 plus years. So she knows what she's doing. She's very respectful of the customs, and it takes a very specific person to be able to administer Mother Ayahuasca. You have to be chosen by her. It's not oh, let me just hold a random ceremony just because. It's no, you have to be handpicked and called to work with this specific plant medicine. So for those who don't know what ayahuasca is or who ayahuasca is a sacred plant medicine, an ancient brew from the Amazon, and it is brewed from the root, and it's a very beautiful medicine. It helps bring up a lot of trauma from the past. It helps people heal deep-rooted things. And it's just a great way to not only connect with Mother Earth and to connect with the ancestors, but to also go within and to bring things out of you that should not be there anymore. We all were there sitting in a circle, and I was just watching everybody take it, and then they would drink the brew, and then they would lay down. And after I was served it, I sat up and I meditated, and I was just really connecting with the brew. And as the medicine started to kick in, I actually felt like I knew her. It was a reacquaintance. It was a reunion with Mother Ayahuasca. So I felt like in a past life, I was already connected with this plant medicine. So it was like a reunion. She was very kind to me, very gentle with me. And usually people purge on the medicine, whether that's usually through throwing up and vomiting and stuff like that. But people can release through other ways, like crying or screaming, dancing, whatever they need to do, right? So the medicine's kicking in, and I'm communing with Mother Ayahuasca, and then I feel called to go over by the grass tree field area, and I start dancing and chanting and channeling with my ancestors. And for those who have seen me in mushroom ceremonies, you can see that I do that often. I am a channel, I am a medium. So it was just like reconnecting with the ancestors. It was very beautiful. But then I went over by this other field, and it had a tree that had like this dark entity. And I was like, I'm not gonna go over there later. So I went back, and I laid down, and Mother Ayahuasca showed me some of the things that I'm called to speak on in this lifetime. And it made sense to me, like being a preacher's daughter, like choosing to have parents that are preachers, choosing to be a double Sagittarius, choosing to be Life Path 1, and being this speaker and this teacher. It just all made sense as to like what I'm here to talk about. And obviously this is just the tip of the iceberg, because my message runs deeper than I can even think of right now. But I was getting more clarity on that, and I started cracking up. Like I was laughing for a good part of that journey, because I was seeing the things I was going to say, and just like how bold I am, and I can be funny, and I can be fun and still share these messages. And so I was getting into the warrior mode, like, yeah, I don't care like what happens to me. I don't care about the consequences. Like, I'm going to speak, I'm going to stand up, I'm going to do this and that. I know what they did to other leaders. Like, I was really passionate about what I'm here to talk about. And then as the medicine was still coming on, I felt like she was scanning my body of like what to work on, and she was giving me options of what to work on. So for those who have done mushrooms, it's not like that at all. With mushrooms, they basically give you what you need and you don't control it. With Mother Ayahuasca, there's still a little bit of sense of control and direction that you have. And I was given the option of what to work on. So I wanted to specifically focus on the right side of my body, which was in pain for the past 2 years because of an incident that happened with my father. He had said something to me that really hurt me, and I internalized it, and I didn't process it. Like, I mentally thought about it, but I didn't emotionally feel it in my body. Like, I literally suppressed the emotions. And for those who know about psychosomatic illness, psyche, which is the mind or the soul, anything that you have not processed can be manifested in the body through the soma, which is body in Latin, so psychosomatic. And yeah, so this can manifest through the feelings of pain, through heaviness, through aches, through illness and sickness and dis-ease and disorders in the body. It's like really fascinating. So I was suffering literally for 2 years, like from my foot, like, yeah, the ankle, to the knee, to the hip, to the ribs, to the shoulder, to the neck, like all on my right side, which is the masculine side of my body. I was just in a lot of pain because I didn't process this with the masculine or male figure in my life. So I was like, all right, I want to focus on that for this journey. But before that even happened, y'all, there was like a lot of energy going to my hands, and my hands were like this. Literally looking like some type of goblin or Rumpelstiltskin. I don't know, Rumpelstiltskin, maybe it's not Rumpelstiltskin. But I was like this, and when I was laying down, and my friend came over, and she was doing some Reiki over me and helping me clear some stuff out of my womb space. But my hands were like this. She was like, my hands did this too. You have to do what the medicine's asking you to do, or it's going to stay like that. And I'm like, bet. I feel called to go dance over there in the field in the darkness, because it's dark, it's nighttime now. And I didn't want to do that before, because I was like, no, I'm not going back over there. But that's exactly what Mother Ayahuasca was calling me to do. So I'm like, all right, I'm gonna go over there and I'm gonna do what she's asking me to do. I walk over there to that tree, and at first I was kind of afraid because I have so much to catch you all up on, but I was kind of afraid to do that at first. But I went to it and I stood in front of that tree and I just looked at it. And I'm like, what? Like literally just standing in my power. And then I started to like growl. Like I was channeling my own darkness, because we all have light and darkness within us. And a lot of times darkness is demonized or seen as a bad thing. But that's not always the case. You know what I'm saying? So I was channeling my dark feminine energy, and I was feeling like kind of like a jaguar spirit, like I was like growling, and then I was like in my power, like I was ready, and I backed up from the tree and I started like channeling my ancestors and communing with the dead ones, like the darker ones. And they aren't dark as in bad, they were just fierce. So I was channeling my fierceness, and I was doing a lot of chanting and singing. Like my voice on plant medicine and fungal medicine is very, very melodic, very beautiful, very strong. And if you have an opportunity to share space with me in ceremony, a sacred ceremony, you'll be able to see this happen in real time. But I was just really focused on releasing all that I needed to release. And I was marching around the field like a soldier, a warrior that I am. And it was absolutely beautiful. And my hands were free. Like I was fine. And so after that, I had spoken to the moon and was asking her to align my womb with her. And the next day, I actually got my moon cycle because it was off because of certain things. But now it's back on. And when I went back to the ceremonial space where everybody else was, then there was more energy in my wrist. I'm like, what is this? So I asked the medicine woman, I'm like, why is my wrist feeling all this energy right here? She was like, ask the medicine. Typical thing, like that's a typical thing that a medicine woman or a medicine man would say, because I would say that to somebody as well. So I asked the medicine, I felt like it was self-doubt that was holding my wrist. Self-doubt that specifically was blocking abundance, like a financial abundance in my life. And as soon as I realized that, I started thinking about my father, and I was ready to work on the wound that was keeping me back from being in my masculine energy divinely. And so, yeah, I went there. I was literally crying in fetal position. I went back to the memory of what my dad had said, and I felt it. I felt all of the emotions. I felt sadness, bitterness, rejection, abandonment, and anger. And I was just crying and crying, and the medicine woman was there to support me. And then there was a point in time where I got really angry. I got really angry because growing up, I was not taught financial literacy or anything, and my parents are really wealthy. So I was like super angry and bitter about that. Like, why don't I know anything about that? And it changed my perspective of wealth. Like my relationship with money has not been the best, but it's been changing. And so I started like punching the pillows that I was laying on. I was super angry. And then I was called to transmute that anger. I was called to do alchemy, and I stood up and I started to chant in my power and to transmute that anger into passion for doing the things that I love in order to create generational wealth for me, myself, my family, and those who will come after me. And it was just such a beautiful ceremony. And the last thing I want to share about this though, towards the end, when everybody was coming down from the journey, they brought out fruit, like a lot of Costa Rican fruit, like rambutan, which I call ramboozles. And they're so beautiful. They're so beautiful. During the journey, I had this memory that I was a witch that was burned in a past life. And although I didn't see it happening, which would have been really traumatic, but I remembered it. And I was like, that makes a lot of sense with who I am now and what my message is, especially when it comes to like the church and religion and spirituality and all of that jazz, right? Anyway, the medicine woman asked us like, how was our journey? And I shared a little bit about the release that I had with my, the memory with my dad, what he said to me, and how my right side of my body was hurting for 2 years and I wasn't feeling that pain anymore. During the reflection and stuff like with the medicine woman, I talk about how I was super excited about all the things that I'm here to share, and I didn't care about the consequences because I know what they did to other leaders, like blah, blah, blah. And then she looks at me and she's like, no. You don't have to worry about the consequences in this lifetime because you already paid them. You were a witch that was burned in a past life, and you already paid the price. And now you can live in your divine masculine energy without that. And I was like, I was like, I know, I remembered that I was burned. And so for her to confirm that was really big for me. especially because I'm relearning to trust my intuition and the things that I see in the spirit realm. And so she just confirmed that, and it felt really good to know that. And it started, like, the pieces started to become more clear and being put together. And the cool thing about that, though, is that 3 days before that ceremony even happened, my friends and I had a bonfire, and I was staring at the fire, and my friend, the same friend who was helping me remove some of that energy from my womb space during the ayahuasca ceremony, and she was doing the Reiki and stuff, before I went and like channeled the darkness and all that. She was sitting next to me during the bonfire, and she only said this to me, okay? She leaned in and she was like, "You can't be burned by the fire when you are the fire." Bro, do you understand like how powerful that statement is? And then later to do the ayahuasca ceremony and remember that I was burned, but then the medicine woman saying I wouldn't be burned in this life basically was like, whoa, because they can't burn me either physically or metaphorically anymore because I am the fire. I came back as a double Sagittarius. That's a fire sign.
I do want to mention, speaking of psychosomatic symptoms, that around this time when I did have this memory from a past life of being burned, I also had burn-like wounds resurface only on my hands and my throat chakra, which represents obviously my magic, doing my magical work through my hands and expressing myself, speaking my truth, which had me murdered in a past life.
And I'm just really grateful for that whole experience in Costa Rica, everything that I saw. And I'm super duper grateful for the ayahuasca ceremony as well, because it was very powerful and a lot of healing went down. And oh yeah, those aren't ghosts making that sound. That's my roommate. I have a roommate now who is my friend. She's so cool. She's also a witch. Oh wait, oops, I probably shouldn't share that. I'll edit that out. I said that you were a witch too, but I can edit that.
Who, me?
Yeah, do you want to say hi to my YouTube audience?
I'm a witch. Is this YouTube?
Yes.
Oh. Hi. Okay, bye.
Oh my gosh, I'm so grateful for her. If y'all want to follow her on Instagram, it's at Spade Spiritual, and I'll leave that in the description. She's super cool, and she's such a huge blessing because this year has been a lot, y'all. And for me to have someone who is on their own path and understands what it means to like be magical and to be musical and all these things, she is such a blessing. We've been together for many lives traveling these dimensions. But anyway, thank you so much for tuning in. Thank you for listening. I'm looking forward to connecting with you all again, doing these videos. And if you do want to still check out my podcast, I'll leave that in the description. It is a little bit different. It's just gonna be audio for now because I don't like my mouth being covered either when I'm talking on video. Because I do a lot of facial expressions, if you haven't noticed. I'm very animated, and I want to keep it that way. I love you all. Please subscribe to join the tribe. And again, I'm Native Soul. If you are new, visit me next time. And if you want to follow me on Instagram and talk to me about anything, follow me at _Year of Jubilee _. I'll see you all next time. Peace.